Hello, good morning, folks, and welcome to the Impact Money Show, coming to you live from the beating heart of power and profit, Washington, D.C. It's Wednesday, March 5th, and the weather out here is wild as the markets we're about to dive into. We've got a chilly 38 degrees Fahrenheit under the cloudy skies with a brisk wind whipping off the Potomac at 12 miles an hour, enough to rattle the cherry blossoms if they were blooming yet. Bundle up if you're headed to the hill today, because the forecast says we might see a sprinkle or two by noon, with temps barely nudging up to 42 degrees. Typical DC March, gray, gritty, and unpredictable, just like the money moves that we are tracking. Before we jump in, mark your calendars. This Saturday, March 8th, we're throwing a Washington elite event right here in the shadow of the White House. It's tied to the White House Crypto Summit, where the big dogs of finance and tech will hash out what Trump's crypto reserve tease means for your wallets. Think Bitcoin at 90,000 isn't a game changer? Think again. We'll have the insiders, influencers, and the intel. Doors open at 6 p.m., so don't miss it. This city's under power and cash, and we're bringing both to the table. Now let's talk about money, because DC is waking up to a roller coaster that has Wall Street, Main Street, and every street in between holding their breath. It's 6:14 a.m. on the East Coast, and the news cycle is already on fire. President Trump lit the match last night with his first joint address to Congress of this administration, and the sparks are flying here from Kiev to D.C. Markets are yo-yoing, crypto's soaring, and the dollar's taking a beating. We've got blackmail whispers, tariff tantrums, and robots sorting your groceries while AI whispers secrets. Buckle up, because this is the Impact Money Show, and we're not here to sugarcoat it. We're here to break it all down for you. Let's start with the man at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Last night, Trump stood before Congress and swung for the fences. Big claims, bigger fights. He waved a letter from the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky saying Kiev's ready to negotiate peace with Russia. Pronto. I appreciate it, he said, grinning like he just brokered a deal of the century. Kremlin's calling it a positive signal today, but Putin's not popping champagne yet. He's got drones hammering Odessa as we speak. Reports are one dead, power out, 267 launched in the war's biggest drone assault yet. Wow. Trump's frozen U.S. aid since Monday, and Kiev's Patriot missiles may dry up in days. Is this peace or a pioneer move? DC's watching Putin play chess while Trump claims checkmate. But that's just the warm-up. Trump's doubled down on the tariffs, 25% on Canada and Mexico, 20% on China, effective Monday night, and bragged it's bringing jobs home. America first, he roared, while the Dow bled 670 points yesterday alone. S&P dropped 1.22%, and NASDAQ's teetering on correction turf. Canada's already hit back with $107 billion in levies. Mexico's loading up by Sunday, and China's pumping stimulus to dodge the blow. That means they're printing money, devaluing their currency in order to dodge the tariffs. Ford and GM took it on the chin, down 2.9% and 4.6% as supply chains brace for chaos. Trump says China's paying. Not you at the checkout, but economists are rolling their eyes. Higher prices are coming, folks. Here's the twist. Futures flipped green overnight. Dow futures up 0.5%. NASDAQ futures up 0.7%. 206 points in the black, because Commerce Secretary Howard Ludwig dangled a lifeline late Tuesday. Pathway to tariff relief, he teased on CNBC, maybe as early as today. People are buzzing. Will Trump lighten the load on Canada and Mexico? Maybe it's fentanyl concessions. Maybe it's auto panic. But Wall Street's betting on a breather after 2 bloody days. Gold is at $29.15. Silver's at $31.90. Safe havens are still flexing, while oil's crashed to $68.50, down $10 in 3 weeks. That's a 20-point shave on inflation. Gas, $3.29 a gallon at the pump across Washington, D.C. Cheaper over in go across the borders in Virginia and Maryland. But is this a dead cat bounce or a real rebound? Jobs data, ADP today, NFP Friday, could flip the script. Speaking of flips, RFK Jr.'s got the anti-vax crowd spitting nails. The new HHS secretary, a guy who built his name trashing vaccines, MMR causes autism, he's screamed for years, penned a Fox News op-ed March 2nd, pushing MMR shots for Texas measles outbreak. I mean, what in the world's going on? I've been getting calls about this. I really am at a bit of a loss. It's really something else. It really is. 146 kids sick, 1 dead, the first U.S. measles death in a decade, and Bobby's shipping 2,000 doses, saying it's about community immunity. His base, Candace Owens, Stu Peters, and the rest are howling betrayal, predicting mass die-offs from a death shot. Warren's kicking him too, calling it too little, too late. Blackmail whispers are swirling. Did someone get dirt on Kenny? He's mumbling personal choice to keep his foot in the fight, but the Texas crisis has him trapped. Strategic retreat or a deep state leash? Let me know your take. Blackmail is the word of the week. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel promised the Epstein files would blow the lid off. Thursday, February 20th, they dropped phase 1, 200 pages of flight logs and redacted stuff, handed to the influencers like party favors. It was a dud. Old news. Let's just recycle paper. Bondi's letter that they treated the FBI New York field office is hoarding thousands of pages. Made Patel cough them up by last Friday. Crickets since. Patel's no cover-ups post on X looks hollow. And the chatter split. Sabotage or sham? Someone's got these two on a string, and it certainly isn't the taxpayers. The clock ticks to March 13th for answers, but don't hold your breath. They already came out and said that Seth Rich files are not going to be released on the 10th, when they were slated to be released. Now let's talk crypto. Bitcoin's flying up 7% to 90,000 today. Altcoins like Ethereum and Solana outpaced it at 10 to 15%. Why? Trump's address teases strategic crypto reserve, Bitcoin at the XRP in the works, sending traders to extreme greed mode. The dollar's crashing, DXY down about 0.64% to 104.30, caught in tariffs crossfire and inflation jitters. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says rates are dropping, eyeing the 10-year yield at 4.47, but the Fed is silent. That's the banking cartel, the Federal Reserve, holding at 4.25 to 4.5%, waiting for inflation to budge from 2.7%. Crypto's hedge. Crypto is the hedge. Tariffs shook stocks. Oil's easing wallets. And Trump's pro-Bitcoin flex has DC buzzing. Saturday Crypto Summit, or Friday Crypto Summit. It's going to be a circus. Our event as well. Overseas, it's a powder keg. Russia pounding Odessa while Israel is bombing Gaza. 48,000 dead since 23. Trump's U.S. takeover of the Gaza placeover, displace of 2.2 million. Build a Riviera. Got Egypt and Jordan saying, heck no, and the IDF's not budging. Netanyahu's in Cairo today, not packing up. Putin's smirking at Trump's peace letter. Pakistan's reeling from a suicide bomb yesterday, and China's betting on renewables to outlast tariffs. Money is moving. SpaceX is dropping $1.8 billion on Starship in Florida, and Tesla's Optimus robots might hit thousands by the year end. Tech's a wild card. Amazon's cooking an AI model on rival Anthropic's cloud by June. Tencent's Huan Turbo S is outpacing rivals, and Figure AI's Helix bot is sorting groceries with a $39.5 billion valuation in sight. Musk's Doge is AI slashing costs, spooking DC about bias, while AI agents chat in gibberish, freaking out ethicists. Robotics and AI are rewriting labor. Your paycheck's on notice. So DC, that's your money pulse. Trump's swinging, markets are swaying, and the tech's remaking the game. Saturday's edition of the Washington Elite event, the White House Crypto Summit Edition, as it's being dubbed, will be a lot of fun. Bring your A game. This is the Impact Money Show. Let's get over to the money markets. I have with you here the great Matt Dixon. Sir Matt, how are you?
I'm fine. Good morning, Bruce. Morning, everybody.
Yeah, good morning and afternoon.
Yeah, it's afternoon here. It's 3:30 in the afternoon, just about. So, yeah, I've been obviously up and around watching the market, seeing how it's going. Been fantastic day so far.
Sure has.
I was actually saying yesterday, still time. I mean, actually, I had so many doubters. We were saying yesterday about the negativity was pervasive yesterday on X. So many people were saying we're going down, down, down. I was saying, even if we go dip a little bit lower, it's definitely time to DCA. And if you had DCA'd yesterday, I think we're at 82,000 yesterday or last night. We touched 90,000. I'll just go into check the screen now, see where we're at. So let me just share that screen. But yeah, it's been a real roller coaster, as you said, with the Trump tariffs. That was taken really badly. I must say, maybe they know something I don't, but I'm not in agreement with tariffs at all. But who knows? They may have something else in mind.
It's rough on the heart, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, bear in mind, Trump said there was going to be a lot of pain for people, and these tariffs are definitely going to create pain because no doubt, not quite sure what the long-term effect will be, but certainly short, medium term, it's going to be negative for everybody. So inflation is going to go up, no doubt about it. I've looked at estimates from the serious analysts out there. They're saying it should increase inflation over the next year, probably by an additional 1% over what it was.
Wow.
And it will diminish growth by, again, a fairly substantial amount. I can't remember the exact percentage, but it is going to be a drag on growth. So not only higher inflation, but lower growth. But they're still saying it's highly unlikely. This is what the analysts are saying, highly unlikely we're going to go into recession. But as I've said so many times, there have been certainly a lot of warning signals out there, and the economy is beginning to show slow. We've got ISM manufacturing out today. Let's see how that goes. But looking as though it's probably going to come out stable. So nothing to worry the markets as yet. Just looking at Bitcoin here, we had what I think was a wave 3. WXY correction for wave 4, and I think we're on the way up now, probably pushing up in wave 5. And a lot of people, there's a lot of doubters out there, as I say, but the actual market price action seems to be supporting what I'm saying. Admittedly, it's a slightly difficult count. From the bottom, what I've got labeled 4 here, I've counted 5 waves up to give us a larger wave 1 in red. And that is a little bit of a stretch count, I agree, but so often, when you have a long drawn-out correction like this, the first move up, there's no consensus in the market. There's a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers. Nobody's sure where it's going. So the wave count is sometimes not quite as clear as at other times. And very often you'll see a dodgy wave 1. When I say dodgy, the count is a little bit stretched, perhaps. But I have counted 5 clear waves up, so potentially that's good. We've got a very nice ABC wave down for wave 2, which is really good. It was quite a deep retracement, and as I may have mentioned yesterday, I think I did, that wave 2 is the deep retracement wave. It normally goes somewhere between 50 and 61.8% of the wave 1, and very often much further than that, reasonably often, statistically enough to be, certainly we need to be aware that it's going to be a deep correction. That's precisely what we saw, and it got a lot of people worried, and again, that's what you'd expect. This wave 1 is basically a lot of people testing the water, thinking we're going higher. maybe some of the whales even been testing the water, thinking going higher. But then you get a lot of people, they're not convinced, and you get the market selling off. And that's precisely what we saw. As I say, the worry, the fear across X was pervasive yesterday. And that was what we saw with the sell-off yesterday after the announcement of the strategic crypto reserve. That's what pumped the markets. Then we got the big worry yesterday. But now markets are pumping again. And yeah, looking, as I said, I actually think we're going to have an amazing March. So we started off.
I mean, look, I think they're going to pump this thing right through their the White House crypto summit. So
yeah, I think we're looking at looking really positive across crypto. I'm just looking at Bitcoin right now, which is looking great, but we'll look at a couple of the other cryptos as well. And as you say, I think things are beginning to turn around. I'll just double check. Interestingly, I saw the Hang Seng last night wasn't negative. I think it was actually positive. Yeah, quite heavily.
Asian markets are up almost across the board.
652 points higher. Last night for the Hang Seng. I mean, even now the FTSE, the FT 100, the UK index is up 41 points, which is 0.5%. It's about 0.5%. DAX higher. Everything's looking really good. Bitcoin looking amazing. So whatever the worries were yesterday, they're quickly being dispelled. And as you say, a roller coaster. But for those who have been following the markets for a long time, we were saying that this was a chance to dollar cost average in. And we've said that over and over and over again. Whenever it dips down these lower levels, yesterday I think was a wave 2, another amazing opportunity. And I said this yesterday at the depths of the lows. Yesterday I was saying time to dollar cost average, time to be buying in. And if you had bought in, you can already even protect those buys with a stop loss, move it into guaranteed profit, and that's the way to trade. And if the market were to dip lower again, you come out with a profit no matter what. But if the market takes off higher, as is reasonably likely, then you'll come out with a mega profit. But either way, you come out with a profit, and surely that's got to be the way to trade.
Surely.
It means that you come out with lots of little profits because you keep moving your stop loss into a guaranteed profit position. And maybe you get stopped out in a profit every time. Not every time, but a lot. But eventually, when you do get the final turnaround and it takes off, your little profit turns into a very big profit. And that's the way to trade. It means your trade record looks amazing. Your percentage of profits against losses looks amazing. And then with the big profit that you make from the one really good trade, it just puts you on the right side. And that's how to trade effectively. So we'll jump over quickly. Well, I might as well just go down the list, actually. Look at Ethereum here. We've had a nice turnaround. Ethereum dipped to 2,000, almost exactly 2,000 overnight. Let's just have a look exactly what it was.
It dipped below end of yesterday over here anyway.
1991, so it dipped below 2,000 overnight, but we pushed up quite nicely now. So we're a good more than 10% higher than that right now. So again, it's an interesting spot. We can see it actually dip below this support level here. I can see its support. I can see it's 100% Fibonacci extension of the previous wave, and we just dipped below it with a spike below. When you see a spike below, that's great. It just means the market tested below and the price failed to stay below, and it's actually pushed back up. So the fact is we've potentially got an A wave down here, a B wave up here, and a C wave down here. So that is, let's just remove that. It confuses matters. The C wave's actually down here. That is potentially really good. It could be just a corrective move, A, B, C. That means you're then going to push higher. We could push to highs above this local high. We could even potentially threaten the previous all-time high, which was, I think, close to 5,000, wasn't it?
Yep.
So looking really positive. I'm not sure whether we'll break through because, as I say, Ethereum is actually my least favorite. But even Ethereum, I think, from this chart pattern, looks corrected to the downside, and I think we've got some amazing upside to come. Even Ethereum, which, as I say, is possibly my least favorite token of the main ones, but I think still majorly positive. Litecoin, as that's one of Bruce's favorites. Again, it's been really choppy, corrective here. Lots of wicks to the downside, which again says it keeps testing to the downside and keeps failing to the downside. So likely upside is favored. So
well, it really took a hit when Trump went out there and posted the strategic reserve was XXRP and ADA or whatever, and man, it just went boom. It took a hit. Everyone's oh man, they're not going to include Litecoin. And then when he came back out, so that's not it. And then of course it started pushing up again. It has been performing pretty well overall.
Yeah, and I do think, as I say, these wicks are indicative of a potential move to the upside, because these wicks all mean that the price failed when it tried to push to the downside. It tried to push down, very quickly reversed higher, and the candles actually closed much higher than the low point it tested. That's really quite positive. And so the likelihood is, with all this overlapping movement, we're going to push higher. And the previous local high was 147. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see it blast through there reasonably soon. As I say, probably this March, we're going to see it blast higher to certainly above this local high. Whether we reach all-time highs, who knows? But it's looking really bullish there. Solana, once again, I've been really, really bullish Solana, because we've had basically a wave 3, ABC wave 4, then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So finishing a larger wave 3, this big red wave 3. Then we've got a wave 4, which was actually quite deep for a wave 4, to be fair. But the important point was, it was clearly a correction. And I've gone through this multiple times, so I'm not going to bore you with it again. But basically, just to cut it short, this triangle told me that it's a correction, because triangles can't occur in wave 2 positions. It has to be ABW, X, ABY. There is still an alternate count that could potentially have us testing lower again. That's a possibility. But even so, this tells me it's a correction down. So even if we test lower, it's just an opportunity, I believe, to DCA some more. Because if we do test lower, we're still going to push to new all-time highs, I think, probably this March. So I'm not worried if it tests a bit lower. It's actually an opportunity to fill your bag a bit more at a lower price. So don't worry about it. As long as you're not leveraged, overcommitted or whatever, then you're fine. So even if we dip a bit lower, I'm not at all concerned. This movement down for me is definitely corrective. So looking really, really good for Solana fans. As I say, if it goes lower, just add some more to your position, perhaps. XRP, just going down the line. Again, we said yesterday this is looking as though we'd had a completed ABC correction to the downside. And I said, if this is a 1-2-1-2, the actual upside is looking really bullish from here. We've begun that really nicely with a couple of good green candles. Let's see what ISN comes out with later today, and let's see what the non-farm payrolls comes out at tomorrow. If those figures come out, favorable to market, which they probably will do, I suspect, that'll give us the impetus we need, the fuel we need to push this rally further on to the upside. So that's looking good. As Bruce said, oil price has been falling, and there's definitely plenty of supply out there. But it's just there's also maybe a little bit of concern over the amount of demand, but there's plenty of supply. So that's what's pushing oil price down. But that's probably a good thing. Whilst we've got the tariffs are actually upward pressure on inflation, but oil price coming down is downward pressure. So maybe this is just working in Trump's favor a little bit, that although the tariffs are inflationary, maybe this fall in oil price will counter that a little bit. So maybe you get a little bit of a tailwind behind what Trump's doing. I know there's some potential positives behind tariffs. There's a lot of potential negatives, but if you can get some of these tailwinds in your favor, then maybe it's not going to be such a bad thing after all. So I'm just a bit concerned, though, that oil price will hit this support here and potentially bounce higher again, which will be bad for inflation. But let's just see what happens. This will be a good risk-reward area potentially for a trade with a stop loss just below. If it were to bounce higher, these are what I look for, barriers for basically for risk-reward. It means that your risk will be small to the downside with a stop loss. The upside will be at least to the upside, the overhead resistance. So risk-reward would be pretty amazing. Gold, we were all expecting a little bit of a pullback, which we had. So yeah, looking really good. Let me just scroll out a little bit more. So we've had basically, I think, the wave 4 was down here, and it depends which fractal you look at. I still think that we're just in a bit of a corrective mode. We could even correct further down, but I'm still actually thinking at the higher fractal level, I might just scroll out a little bit onto the weekly just to show you what I mean. So when I say the higher fractal level, when we finish this wave 5, and we've actually been talking about this wave 5 possibly finishing around a 3,000 level. I'm talking about wave 5 in blue. So you can see from this level here, the red wave 2. From there, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 working on the 5th wave for wave 5, but that actually makes up a larger wave 3 in red. So then we'd have a corrective wave 4 and a further push up for wave 5. So again, with gold, I'm actually not overly concerned at all. I think we're going to hit new all-time highs for gold. So again, I think it actually forms part of a well-diversified portfolio. I think gold should form a part of any well-diversified portfolio as an uncorrelated asset, not correlated to other assets out there like the risk assets, the stock markets, crypto, etc. So you want to diversify as much as possible. So you never quite know for certain when one asset is going to be up compared with another down. So if you diversify, it just evens it out. It smooths the returns. And over the long term, gold's done really well. In the last bull run, it's actually done 3x. I'm talking about the impulsive cycle. Let's just see where it's from. It was a little bit further back. Beginning of the cycle anyway, it's done a good 3x, which is amazing for something like gold, which is seen as a real store of value, a real safe haven, and you get 3x on it in a bull run is pretty amazing if you ask me. S&P, again, actually is fairly similar to gold. I think we're actually in a 5th wave to the upside. A bit like crypto, really, like Bitcoin. I think we're probably in the early stages of a 5th wave, so I think probably quite a bit higher to go. We're going to reach, almost definitely, we're going to reach new all-time highs. We did have a signal here on this weekly. You can hardly see it. I'll put it on the daily. But we did have this regular bearish divergence right at the top. So it gave us a perfect signal to take profits up here, expect a pullback. But again, you've had a pullback. RSI is now near the bottom. It may potentially go oversold on RSI, but these are areas to potentially dollar cost average because I think the signs are that we're going to head to new all-time highs. So we're going to have quite a good first quarter, I believe. So it's been a little bit bumpy. We actually had a really good run early on in the year. We've had a bit of a bumpy ride with since the inauguration, but I think we're going to have another really good run, especially as RSI is close to getting oversold, and then we should start to push to the upside to see some nice new highs there. Dollar index, I think we talked about a little bit. The dollar has been falling quite a bit. It seems that when there's a lot of negativity over tariffs and so on, the dollar does tend to weaken. And I suppose there's a risk that China will not support the dollar by buying US bonds if this trade war gets out of hand. Let's just hope it doesn't get out of hand because there are big risks. There's a lot to play for here. And Trump is playing his hand very, very strongly, as he tends to do. He plays a strong hand. He maybe bluffs a little bit and then pulls back sometimes. So let's just hope he doesn't push it too far. So looking at dollar yen, as we know, this is a real good proxy for risk. So when dollar yen is going up, it's normally good for risk assets. We've had a bit of a move down, and it's quite important. We did actually move down yesterday below support, which is a little bit worrying for me. It means that potentially we could drop lower, because if we're dropping lower, it means stronger yen, and that is not necessarily good for risk assets. So I'm keeping a close eye on this. The fact that we didn't close below this support is important. Remember I said a few moments ago, when you have a wick testing down, it means the price is tested lower, they failed, and they finished higher. So it's actually quite a bullish sign. Same as the bottom of this movement here. We got these wicks below that tested down and failed, and then we saw the price move higher on the dollar yen. So that stronger dollar, weaker yen as it moved higher. So there's potential for that as we see another wick here. This is telling me that potentially we're going to move higher. So it's actually in support of the thesis that we're going to get a good little run, I hope, on risk assets. And just to kind of summarize or finalize across the board, virtually everything is doing nicely. Even Trump coin, which has had a real battering, up 3.6% today, up at 13 right now. So a bit of a recovery there. And if we see the markets recover, being a volatile meme, no doubt you'll see some potentially aggressive movement to the upside, but it's highly risky. I wouldn't put anything more than a bit of play money into a total meme like that.
It did pop real hard when everything popped on Sunday. It popped real hard.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, if they buy it for the strategic reserve, man, you can go all in on that meme coin.
That can't happen. It can't happen. They'll lose all credibility. That's not possible, surely. But anyway, you never know. So, looking at Jasmine, I mentioned it yesterday, actually, that we've had long held support here, this dotted line. And just look at the price. It actually went down, tested that dotted line beautifully, and then finished higher. And it's actually a nice bullish hammer here, and then followed by a nice solid green candle to the upside. So actually, this is looking really positive for Jasmine. And I think it was, it's beautiful. I was saying yesterday, there's potentially a risk of this hidden bullish divergence being eliminated, but I said you have to wait for the close of the candle. And was I right? The candle closed higher. We got a beautiful hidden bullish divergence, and Jasmine is heading higher. So all these indicators are working beautifully, exactly as we'd hope and expect. And you can make profit out of this. We saw this. We've seen it for a long time about this long held support tested. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, at least 5 times tested precisely, and tested again. So that is the place to buy with a stop loss just below, because there's a strong support there. Your stop loss just below, and right now in percentage terms, we're massively over the entry point, and you can protect your trade right now. So again, that's the way to trade. Just look for those really good risk reward setups. Like that is just amazing, absolutely perfect. And one of the trades of a lifetime, I may have mentioned it before, was actually the Swiss franc against the euro. And when it fell out of it was tied to the euro at one time, and the risk, it was standing for a long time on something like this, which was a perfect risk reward barrier. So you could again place a long-term trade. You could just leave it there, just leave the trade on with a stop loss just below. It wasn't going below because actually it was being supported by the central banks. So every time it tried to dip lower, the central banks came in and bought, and they held it above. Eventually, it broke, and anyway, it's people made a lot of money, and actually a lot of FX companies went out of business at the time because they were effectively not smart enough to see the risk that was there. But there's opportunities like that, ones that I call opportunities of a lifetime. I think this is opportunity of the year, as I've said, for a lot of assets. Not really talking about Jasmine, although it's actually looking, it's a really volatile asset. Lots of potential there, but certainly some of the major assets, I think it's the opportunity of the year right now. Don't need to hold all year. I think within a month, you're going to see some amazing returns. And talking about amazing returns, I'll just finish on my old token, eBay. It's had
look
some
at that. Woo!
Amazing performance of late. So the last week, it's done 65%. Last 2 weeks, 372%. So you've done over 3x, 3.7x in a couple of weeks. That's actually gone in the face or against the rest of the market. Where the rest of the market's been struggling, eBay has been absolutely rocketing. And with what's going on behind the scenes, I think there's actually potential for it to go multi-X higher. So again, it's a speculative one. It's a low liquidity, fully diluted valuation of 8.6 million. It's really low liquidity at the moment, but there's potential for prices to rocket. And I've seen some people take some serious profits in the past few weeks, jumping in and taking profits, multi-X profits higher. And I think there's still plenty of potential for that. You can only buy it on PancakeSwap at the moment, but I do know that behind the scenes, they're basically looking at developing an on-ramp, which means it's going to be much easier to buy the token at some point in the future. When that happens, it could really open the floodgates and people will pile in because there's plenty of potential for this token to go much higher. Just to let you know, I hold eBay. So just to be transparent, I do hold eBay, a lot of eBay. I've never, ever sold a single token of eBay. I'm a long-term holder and I intend to keep it that way because I think the long-term potential is tremendous. So again, one of those tokens not to overcommit to, but definitely worth dabbling with and taking a long-term holding of something. And you could, potentially, who knows, you could easily see 100x from a token like this. So I think that's where we'll finish for today, Bruce. Looking good on the markets. As I say, look forward to tomorrow, because I think tomorrow is a big day, bigger than today. The manufacturing, the ISO manufacturing, yeah, it's important, but tomorrow non-farm payrolls is the big news, the big market mover. So let's just see what happens tomorrow. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's news, and hopefully drive the market higher, but also everything that's going on tomorrow and over the weekend with, well, it's not tomorrow, it's Friday, isn't it? Sorry. Over the weekend on the crypto side of things with America. So looking forward to some positive times. So thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everybody, and look forward to catching up again.
Always a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye for now.
All right. See you tomorrow. Cheers. The great Matt Dixon with the Market Watch Report, world-class analysis that we give on the show here every day. Really, things are looking pretty nice here. I just noticed I got this. I'll tell you what, it's hard to do everything. It's hard to do everything. I have a interview queued up here, another interview from the Global Family Office Investment Summit. We really had a great time out there. This one is with Adam Reeser and Steven Sprague. Steven Sprague is he is a normal, like, local. I guess he's a local around here. I'm not totally sure, but he's here in DC a lot. Might be up in New York most of the time, but anyway, he's here. Pretty interesting interview. Let me just share my screen here. This is another interview from the Global Family Office Investment Summit. Now, of course, we are going to be at the Global Family Office Investment Summit in Dubai coming up in May. So super excited about that as well. And I'm going to try to get out to the Kentucky Derby. I want to get out to the Kentucky Derby this year. You guys been to the Kentucky Derby before? Kentucky Derby is a lot of fun. I really want to get out to Monaco too, but it looks like I got this deal going with these other guys. It's a lucrative deal, so I'm gonna do it. But man, missing Monaco. But the Kentucky Derby, we'll see. We'll see if I get out there. Here's the interview. This is with Adam Reeser and Steven Sprague. This is from the Global Family Office Investment Summit.
Welcome back to the Impact Money Show. Of course, we are live here on location at the Global Family Office Investment Summit. That's been an amazing event so far.
They're wearing the mics, so my voice may be a little low, but theirs will be good.
That was here, Adam Reeser, and of course, Steven Sprague. He's been around for a long time. We met each other DC years ago. But they have a lot going on. Tell me a little bit. We can kind of go down the line. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing, and we're glad to hear to the Global Family Office Investment Summit.
That was Steve East on how we started with during COVID, and we figured out the identity. How do we identify masks where they're coming from? So tell us how you got to your new technology and how it's going to innovate with our Verity and our Made USA track and trace and supply chain.
Absolutely. So there's an incredible opportunity in digital. The world says we're going digital, but in reality, the foundations aren't there yet. Like, the average person can't send you a message and you can believe that it actually came from them. So what we're focused on is, how does an organization like a company or an LLC have an identity that they can then use to attach to all the data and the products that they create? You can think of it in a very simple way, like a VIN number in a car. Not only do I like having a VIN number so that they can send me a notice that says, oh, your brakes are bad, because we want to fix something and somebody else's car was a problem. So it's driven quality and capability within the product. But now we also have Carfax. So when you go and buy a used car, you can learn about that specific car and where has it been and what's it done. But at the heart of all of that, you have to have a corporate identity like Ford. And so in the real world, we've had, Ford.com registered in Delaware. What we're doing now is we're creating an Ethereum address that allows the corporation to register that address as a public key, as a doing business as name in the Delaware Corporation or Wyoming or wherever the entity is registered. And in that way, they can sign their output. So now what you have is on the blockchain, the ability for any LLC, any corporation to produce information that you can validate and believe in. And so Verity takes that as part of the system to assure that whether it's nutrient credits or it's made in the USA, how do I assert that the organization that stamped this and provided the information that information was authorized, is authentic, and can be validated?
Well, Stephen, that's our start of this, the start of the chain of custody. So when you start with good data comes out. When you have bad data, so now we have the start of chain of custody. It's been validated that you are the company you are. The KYCs have been done, and so we have a base, a good foundation. So when you have a good foundation for data, that's what's required. And Roots does that. They go over and validate it. We help with the KYC. They do is they file in the venues or jurisdictions that have to have it start with, and then we have a great base to start on. So that's what Stephen, and we found that out during COVID. We couldn't figure out where these masks were coming from, and we're like, okay, and we bought hundreds of millions of masks and flew around the whole world. I mean, COVID was a nightmare, but when we looked at the supply chain, you didn't know where this mask, and then we did the the authorized use, the temporary authorization, thing, and it was a nightmare. So he came up. He is his technology. He started with the start of chain of custody, and there we are. That's how we got here.
That is really interesting. So it's one of like those all the been in blockchain, Bitcoin for a long time, right? It's one of those original well, what do you use this for? And you're like, well, this would be a really great way that we could identify and track where things are coming from.
But here's the really important part. If I give you an identity, and we've done that for years, you can go get like a smart card with an identity on it. Industries and governments have done that for a long time. The U.S. government has one for all military members called a CAC card. The problem is, where do I go check to see if it's been revocated? So like revocation lists and changes are really hard. What's interesting is once I give a person, an entity, or even a product, a blockchain identity, it's on a single shared ledger. And it's that single shared ledger that's so powerful. It's how I know that you have 10 Bitcoin and Adam has 1 Bitcoin. I don't have any Bitcoin. And if you want to send some of your Bitcoin to me, you can, but it's all in one place. So once you issue or create a wallet and a credential and a transaction, so let's say I authorize Adam to be a reseller, and then 2 weeks later I deauthorize Adam to be a reseller. You can look at those transactions and see, yep, I authorized, but then there's also a subsequent deauthorization. So as a third party, Adam can send you with his wallet, look, I'm authorized, and you go to validate, you can look at that chain and says, oh, yeah, you were authorized, but you're not authorized anymore. And that is such an incredibly powerful thing. So if you have food products that expire, if you have credits that have a limited life, if you have corporations that change governance, all sorts of things are possible in doing this. It's a really interesting challenge, and it's an incredible global need. So we're right at the front edge of putting these technologies to work so that data has origin. You can think of it as a birth certificate. Where did it come from?
It's a validation of the birth certificate. So we're doing nutrient credits, and we're cleaning the world's coastal waters. And 10,000 oysters over 18 months gives you 1 nutrient credit. Think about it like a carbon credit, but validation-wise. And Verity.1 is starting it. We're putting the oysters in 18 months. And then after 18 months, we issue a nutrient credit. And then after that, you get 36 months as they expire. So now we know it's start a chain of custody. We have the base data. There's a ticker basically comes to baking. Click it, boom. And then we notify it, hey, by the way, your nutrient credits are ready to expire. You put them back on the exchange to go over and get rid of them or use them or lose them. So that's
use them or lose them.
Yeah.
So when you come to an event like this Global Family Office Investment Summit, obviously people are looking for technology like this. What is the welcome that you get here? Is this something that is interesting to them? What is your goal?
Well, our goal is getting people exposed to the technology, and everybody here at the family office has companies that they invest in. So now understand their data, we can validate their data. So we want to know what's going on with blockchain. We have a real use case, tried and tested for the chain of custody for 25 plus years. And now we married it with blockchain, ERP systems, IoT, and AI. And now we have the base, which is the foundation. It was never a base before him. So now we have the solid base, put his technology in, and then voila, we have. You want to know what baby formula is ready to expired, or there's a recall on it? Well, did Nestle or did any of the other baby formulas, were they authorized to go over and do that? Here's your remediation. How do you go over and send it back? How do you go over and validate it? Start a chain of custody. Did the company really issue that warning? Here's the documents back there. It's on a shared ledger. Anybody can look it up. Full transparency. Like we're like Doge, for products and services.
Doge. That's to Elon Musk and the great work that they're doing, finding all that fraud. Basically, it is really unbelievable. 365-year-old people getting such very. There wasn't even the United States back then. I mean,
wow, it's a fraud, waste, and abuse is another thing, but that's another we can help with that. Okay, so.
Yeah. But what's important in any of those transactions is, so let's go back and look at the whole transaction. Yeah. Who authorized it? When was it authorized? Where's the documentation? Is the documentation been changed or altered? That's where it gets really complicated, because you have a system where the integrity of the data within a system, if I touch the system, then I have to question the integrity. So you look at like the Internet Archive had a hack. They claimed none of the data was altered. But how do I prove that none of the data was altered? If we don't sign the underlying data, if we can't provide an evidentiary proof built on math. So we're trying to move from notaries and stamps and seals and little foil and letters and ribbons to math as the mechanism where I can look at this and say, this is the origin of the data. Here's where it was used. Here's its use over time. So the data has a liveness to it. It is so powerful. Anybody watching this knows this because they act on social media, and they've learned in social media, like, dude, don't trust what the dude says on social media. You have no idea where it might just be a bot, right? So how do I understand the origin and the foundations of where the content came from? That problem is huge in social media, but it's huge across all the other systems. So everything that people are investing in, from buildings to food supply to micro loans in Africa, how do I know that the documents, the origin, the offers are authentic and have been authorized?
Well, it really is. It's so important. You guys made an excellent case for it. Some final thoughts. What's the website? How can you find you guys?
It's Verity.one. Okay, it's Verity.one and MadeUSA.one. And Stephen?
So we're at rivets.global. Rivets is spelled with a Z, RIVETZ.global. And we're a really early stage company, so you'll find very little information on the web about us at this point in time, but we're slowly building it out. But we have an Ethereum key registered as a doing business as in the state of Delaware. And that's really fun. We're the first corporation to ever do it. So I can send you a message that I can prove came from the board of directors, and you can validate it off of Delaware's site. We didn't have to talk to Delaware to do it.
And now we're implementing it. So every single one of our companies that we're going to be certifying, which is about 3.5 million farms in the United States, any of the manufacturers that are being onboarded, it will start with roots. You start with a solid root, a tree, right? And there it is. So
awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
We're in Miami, on our way to the Trump International for the Global Family Office Investment Summit. Guys, stay tuned. This is our Lambo for the shoot we're going to do. So that'll be fun.
Submit or formalize these kind of transactions. I met with Fred Hill, who's the maker of it. Well, gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. You can find each of these guys and talk to them, telling you their wealth of information.
All right, we're in front of the Lambo. Hold that. Hit stop for a second.
Bruce, what's up, man? I knew I'd see you here at the Global Family Investor Summit.
Yeah, man, this is the place to be at the Trump International Resort. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. So I hear you're raising some big money.
All right, yeah. So we just launched our new energy fund. So we're here to raise $100 million.
$100 million. Well, this is the place to do it. Global Family Office Investment Summit. All the big money is here.
That's right. That's why we're here.
But George, I want to introduce you to Crypto Gal. She knows all the inside cuts on the family office events.
All right. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. So what brings you to the summit?
We just launched our energy fund and we're here raising capital for our newest venture.
Awesome. I have the perfect strategy to help you raise money while we're here at the summit. I'm super excited. We should talk. What's up, Brandy? I haven't seen you in forever.
I know, it's been since back in Jersey. Tell me what's new.
Well, I have some new clients. I actually wanted to talk to you about getting them on Global Boost because I know you have a huge reach when it comes to crypto and TV.
Yeah, fantastic. Let me introduce you to the guys right away. They're right over there.
Hey, Vin!
Hi. Do you know that our public sale is 40% achieved over the last 7 days?
That's amazing. You know, with what you're doing with ESG and the Mindwave DAO, I think this family office event is the perfect place for us.
Bruce, we need the strategy now.
I have the perfect person for us, Crypto Gal. Meet Crypto Gal.
I love Bitcoin yield generation. Neela would be a perfect fit. Since Neela is ESG compliant and yield generates Bitcoin, it's a perfect fit.
Bruce, these deals are really coming together.
Anthony Ritosa pulled out all the stops on this one. There's so much money in the room and the quality of everything is so high.
Ben hit it, George hit it, and we are hitting our goals. That's why I love it here.
It's going to be fun, guys. If you have not made the time to come in and see us, well, that's all right. We'll tune you in. We'll keep you posted, so to speak, because keep in mind, Global Boost Media is a place that's going to broadcast and showcase so many new investing products, people, and opportunities that you can learn about and be a part of. Maybe you're a family office. Maybe you're just some CEO and you say, hey, I have an idea. I'm a founder and I want some coverage. I want to be seen. I want to tell my story and get people out there. Hit up Global Boost Media and maybe we'll give you a chance to tell your story.